My name is Patricia Moore. I am 56 years old. I am a widow. My husband died 5 years ago in a car accident. After he did, I raised my daughter alone. Her name is Sophie. She is my only child. She is 28 years old now. She is beautiful, smart, and kind. I love her more than anything in this world. I work as a cleaning lady. I clean offices at night. The work is hard, my back hurts. My hands are always tired, but I never complained. I did everything for Sophie. I paid for her university. I bought her clothes. I gave her everything she needed. She never had to work. She could focus on her studies. Last year, Sophie told me she met someone. His name is David. She said, "Mom, he is wonderful. He has a good job. He is kind. I think he is the one." I was happy for her. I wanted Sophie to be happy. I wanted her to have a good life. 6 months ago, David proposed. Sophie came home crying with joy. She showed me the ring. It was beautiful. She said, "Mom, we are getting married." I am so happy. I hugged her. I cried too. My little girl was getting married. Then Sophie said, "Mom, I want a beautiful wedding. I want it to be perfect. I want a big church. I want a beautiful dress. I want flowers everywhere. I want all my friends to come." I looked at her excited face. I said, "Of course, sweetheart. You will have the wedding of your dreams." But I knew the truth. A wedding like that costs a lot of money. I had some savings, about $15,000. But it was not enough. A wedding like Sophie wanted would cost $40,000 or more. That night, I sat alone. I thought about what to do. Then I remembered something. My husband left me a small house. It was in the countryside. It was old, but someone wanted to buy it last year. They offered $30,000. I said no because that house had memories. My husband and I spent our honeymoon there. But now I had to choose memories or my daughter's happiness. The choice was easy. I called the buyer. I said, "I will sell you the house." He was happy. He said, "I can pay you next week." I sold the house. I got $30,000. With my savings, I had $45,000 total. It was enough. I went to Sophie. I said, "Sophie, you can have your dream wedding. I will pay for everything." Sophie screamed with joy. She hugged me. She said, "Mom, are you sure? That is a lot of money." I smiled. I said, "You are my daughter. You deserved the best." The next 6 months were busy. Sophie planned everything: the church, the flowers, the dress, the food, the photographer. Everything was expensive, but I paid for it all. I worked extra hours. I cleaned more offices. I was so tired, but I did not care. This was for Sophie. Finally, the wedding day came. It was a Saturday in June. The weather was perfect. The church was beautiful. White flowers everywhere. A red carpet, a big choir. Everything looked like a fairy tale. I sat in the front row. I wore my best dress. It was old, but I cleaned it carefully. I watched Sophie walk down the aisle. She looked like an angel. Her dress was perfect, white silk with pearls. It cost $8,000, but she was worth it. The ceremony was beautiful. Sophie and David said their vows. They kissed. Everyone clapped. I cried. My baby girl was married. After the ceremony, there was a reception, a big party at an expensive hotel. There was music, dancing, delicious food, a 5-tier cake. Everything was perfect. I sat at a table in the corner. I was tired. My feet hurt from standing all day. But I was happy. I watched Sophie dance with David. She was smiling. She was glowing. This was the happiest day of her life. Then something happened. Sophie walked to the microphone. The music stopped. She said, "Excuse me, everyone, I want to say something." Everyone got quiet. Sophie smiled. She said, "I want to thank someone very special, my mother, Patricia Moore." Everyone looked at me. I felt shy. Sophie continued, "My mother gave me everything. She worked so hard for this wedding. She sacrificed so much. Mom, can you come here, please?" I stood up. I walked to the front. Everyone was watching. Sophie hugged me. She said into the microphone, "Mom, you sold Grandpa's house for my wedding. You worked 3 jobs. You gave me everything. I want to give you something back." She handed me an envelope. I opened it. Inside was a card. The card said, "Thank you, Mom. We love you, Sophie and David." Primera smiled. I said, "Thank you, sweetheart." But then Sophie said, "Open the envelope completely, Mom." I looked inside again. There was a check. I pulled it out. I looked at the amount. My hands started shaking. The check was for $50. $50. Primera, esta red, eti italiano, $50. After I spent $45,000. After I sold my husband's house. After I worked until my hands bled. $50. Sophie smiled. She said, "David and I wanted to give you something. We know it is not much, but we are saving for our honeymoon to Paris. We hope you understand." I stood there frozen. Everyone was clapping. They thought it was sweet. But my heart was breaking. $50 for everything I gave, for everything I sacrificed. I smiled. I said, "Thank you, Sophie." But inside, I felt empty. I went back to my table. I sat down. I put the check in my purse. I did not cry. Not there. Not in front of everyone. The party continued. Sophie and David danced. They laughed. They celebrated. I sat alone at my table. Nobody talked to me. Nobody asked if I was okay. I was invisible. At the end of the night, Sophie and David left for their hotel. They were flying to Paris the next day. 2 weeks in Paris. The honeymoon cost $12,000. I knew because Sophie told me. She was so excited. I went home alone. I took the bus. I could not afford a taxi. I walked into my empty apartment. I sat on my old couch. I took out the check. $50. I looked at it for a long time. Then I did something. I took out my phone. I called my bank. I checked my account. I had $247 left. That was all. From $45,000 to $247 in 6 months. I thought about the house I sold, the house where my husband proposed to me, the house where we spent our first night as a married couple, the house with my memories. Gone. For a wedding. For $50. The next morning, my phone rang. It was Sophie. She called from the airport. She said, "Mom, we are about to board the plane. Paris. Here we come." I could hear the excitement in her voice. I said, "Have a wonderful time, sweetheart." She said, "Thanks, Mom. Love you. Bye." And she hung up. I sat in my apartment. I looked around. Everything was old. The furniture, the walls, the carpet. I could not afford to fix anything. I had given everything to Sophie, and she gave me $50. Days passed, then weeks. Sophie called me a few times from Paris. She told me about the Eiffel Tower, about the museums, about the romantic dinners. She was having the time of her life. I was happy for her. I really was. But I also felt something else. Something I did not want to feel: disappointment. 1 month after the wedding, Sophie and David came back. They invited me to their new apartment. It was beautiful. 2 bedrooms, a balcony, modern kitchen. The rent was $2,500 per month. David's parents helped them pay for it. Sophie showed me photos from Paris. She showed me her new clothes, designer bags, expensive shoes. She said, "Mom, Paris was amazing. We spent so much money. But it was worth it." I smiled. I said, "I am glad you had fun." Then Sophie said something. She said, "Mom, you look tired. Are you okay?" I said, "I am fine. Just working a lot." She nodded. She said, "You should rest more, Mom. You are not young anymore." Not young anymore. I was 56. I was tired because I worked 3 jobs to pay for her wedding. But she did not see that. She did not understand. I went home that day feeling sad. But I did not say anything. She was my daughter. I loved her. I wanted her to be happy, even if it meant I was not. 3 months after the wedding, something happened. I got sick. Very sick. I collapsed at work. They took me to the hospital. The doctor said I had a heart problem. I needed surgery. The surgery would cost $35,000. My insurance would only cover $10,000. I needed to pay $25,000. Primera deed note AV, $25,000. I had nothing. The hospital gave me 2 months to find the money, or I could not have the surgery. Without the surgery, the doctor said I had maybe 1 year to live. I called Sophie. I told her everything. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Mom, that is terrible. I am so sorry. I waited. She did not say anything else, so I asked, Sophie, can you help me? I need $25,000 for the surgery. She was quiet again. Then she said, Mom, David and I just bought a new car. We do not have extra money right now. Maybe you can ask the hospital for a payment plan. I said, I did. They said I need at least half up front. That is $12,500. Sophie Siege. She said, Mom, I wish I could help, but we really do not have it. Sorry. I hung up the phone. I sat in silence. My daughter, the daughter I gave everything to, the daughter whose wedding cost $45,000. She could not help me. That night, I thought about everything. I thought about all my choices. I thought about the house I sold. I thought about the $50 checks still in my drawer. Then I made a decision. A hard decision. I called a lawyer. I asked about my rights. The lawyer told me something interesting. He said, in this state, children have a legal responsibility to help their parents if the parents are in need and if the parents helped them significantly. I did not want to fight with Sophie, but I wanted to live, so I sent Sophie a letter. A legal letter. It explained everything. It said I needed help. It said she had a legal and moral responsibility. Sophie called me. She was angry. She said, Mom, how could you do this? Send me a legal letter. I am your daughter, I said quietly, and I am your mother. I gave you everything. I sold my memories for your wedding. Now I need help to live. And you say no? She was silent. Then said, fine. I will talk to David. She hung up. 1 week later, Sophie came to my apartment. She had an envelope. She gave it to me. Inside was a check for $12,500. Half of what I needed. She said coldly, this is all we can give. David's parents lent it to us. We have to pay them back. I said, thank you, Sophie. She turned to leave. Then she stopped. She said, Mom, I thought you loved me unconditionally, but I see now that love has a price. Those words hurt more than my heart condition, I said. Sophie, I do love you unconditionally, but love should go both ways. I never asked you for anything until I needed to live. And even then, you hesitated. She left without another word. I used the money for the surgery. The hospital agreed to a payment plan for the rest. The surgery was successful. I survived, but my relationship with Sophie changed. She rarely calls now, maybe once a month. She is busy with her life, her new friends, her new apartment, her new car. I am alive, but I lost my daughter. Not because I died, but because she forgot what I gave her. She forgot the sacrifices. She forgot the love. I learned something painful. Sometimes the people you love the most take you for granted. Sometimes giving everything means you are left with nothing. Not even gratitude. I do not regret loving Sophie. She is still my daughter, but But I regret not teaching her the value of sacrifice. I regret not showing her that love is not just about receiving, it is about giving back. Now I live alone. I still work. I still clean offices, but I save money for myself now, because I learned that you cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot give everything away. You must save something for yourself. Sophie is happy. She has everything she wanted. And I am alive. Maybe one day she will understand. Maybe one day she will realize what I gave up for her. Or maybe she never will. But I will survive, because I am stronger than I thought. And I deserve to live. Even if my own daughter did not think I was worth helping. What would you do if you were in Patricia's place? Would you have done the same for your child? Tell me in the comments below. Where are you from? What did you think of this story? If you liked this story, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Learn English through powerful stories that touch your heart.